On this week's show, the common mistakes people make when investing in property.
In the news, are Airbnb set to ban party houses?
And we're going to be answering all your property-related questions. Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends. Hi, I'm Russell Leeds.
I'm Alistair Cunningham.
And welcome to the Property Investors Podcast.
Hey, how you doing?
Interesting show, looking at mistakes. I mean, people often think of mistakes as a bad thing.
No, it's lessons. Absolutely. Every time you make a mistake, you'll never do it again, or you certainly shouldn't do it again. If you're making common mistakes, you need to look at what you're doing wrong and how we can address that for the next time.
Exactly.
So I think it's really, I get asked this a lot, and I do see a lot of people making the same mistakes often. So I thought it'd be good to just address that.
I think there's a saying, and I'm going to get it wrong now, so I'm going to try and look it up. Okay. No, I'm not. I'm just going to go for it. There's a saying. It's something along the lines of, a wise man learns from his mistakes. An even wiser man learns from the mistakes of others.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard that before.
Have you?
Yeah, I can't remember who said it. I think it was our
me
Leeds.
Just now.
I think it was our Leeds.
Our Leeds.
Yeah.
He sounds like a douche.
Yeah, he sounds like a clever guy. So anyway, what have you been up to, man? Before we crack on.
What have I been up to? What have I done? I've been to cinema.
Yeah.
Gone to see Joker.
Okay,
Good film. Good film. And you've been to cinema. What did you go and see again?
I went to see Maleficent.
What? I can't even say it.
Maleficent. That's the new Angelina Jolie film. That's sparkling, by the way. Do you want still?
Oh, it's sparkling. Carry on.
Yeah, I went to see Maleficent, which is really good film.
What's it about?
It's about two kingdoms that are fighting amongst each other, and it turns out it's all a conspiracy.
Wow, you're selling it, man.
Yeah, I did fall asleep a little bit in the middle of it, but the beginning was good and the end was absolutely very good. So, but the little bit in the middle.
Well, no, when you didn't like it, you fell asleep. I mean, it's impossible to like it while your eyes are closed.
I did. No, it was a very good film. So,
I'll check it out.
Yeah, you should. I think the girls would love it.
So it wasn't a mistake going to see it?
No way.
Okay, so first of all, mistakes then.
Hey, that was a good segue. It wasn't a mistake going to see it. Okay, so what are the common mistakes you hear and you see?
Before we go into common mistakes, I just want to again just touch on the how people are so scared to make a mistake.
Yes, they are. Yeah,
and often it stops you from taking action.
It's the fear, isn't it? People are feared. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid of making mistakes. They're afraid of opinions. They're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of people disagreeing with them. And the reality is, what is fear? If you define the word fear, what is it? It's anticipation of pain. So most of this stuff is a cow's opinion. Irrelevant. It's a moot point. It's irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. And if we all let people's opinion or people's negativity...
A cow's opinion?
Joey from Friends. Joey from Friends said it. Because it's a moot point. It's completely irrelevant. It's a cow's opinion. Doesn't mean anything.
It's quite funny.
It's hilarious. I'm a funny guy. My point being is, look, if we let the fear of all this stuff hold us back, you never get anywhere in life. Because I'm scared. I'm scared of failure. I'm scared of rejection. I'm scared of things going wrong. I'm scared of everything. Of course I am. Am I scared to the point where it lets me stop when it stops me? No.
Well, Will Smith says, doesn't he, the best things in life are on the other side of fear.
Yeah.
And I think people are often so scared of, because it's either a success or a failure, but success and they're not the opposite. Failure is a part of success. There's always going to be failures along the way. And like you say, the key is being able to spot the mistakes and then learn from them. That's new. So the idea
there's no such thing. There is. I don't care who they are. I don't care who you are in this world. There is no such thing as a one day or an overnight success. There's no such thing. There's been to get anyone. You think of any entrepreneur. Richard Branson, Zuckerberg, whatever his name is from Facebook, all the Jeff Bezos and all that, they've all failed. They've failed the way to success. So they've made mistakes, they've cocked up, they've screwed up, and they finally got somewhere. But if you look at Facebook, for instance, the guy that created that, what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
He didn't just come out. He didn't just literally wake up one day and go, "Oh, I'm going to start Facebook." because the name wasn't even Facebook. It was something before. It was called the network. So what I mean is he had to fail at it numerous times before it hit big. And even before Facebook, he had lots of other little things going on. They all failed. They all went bankrupt. They all went under. And then finally he hit it home with Facebook. And it's the same as property investing.
So go on, let's give us then some of the, because obviously the idea of this is to, like we just said at the beginning, a wise man learns from his mistakes. Even wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So what were some of the mistakes that you've seen people make that we can pass the lesson on? Don't make these mistakes, guys.
Common things I see all the time is people, they are so desperate to get their first deal that they end up buying the wrong deal or taking a rent to rent on the wrong deal just because they're so desperate to say, yeah, I've got a deal. Right, and it means they lack due diligence. They don't do the due diligence properly. Things such as they'll take it out.
See, this is a really interesting one because on the one hand, and this is about getting a balance now.
Yeah.
On the one hand, we're saying fear is good. Embrace the fear.
Yes.
And a lot of people are scared of getting a deal.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, we're talking about the mistake of being too desperate and going in and getting the wrong deal. So it's almost like
it's a balance
contradiction. I know it's not a contradiction, but it almost feels like
we teach formulas, not feelings. Okay, now, although we teach that, we still see people that come along and they still buy with feelings.
So what does that mean? Formulas, not feelings. What do you mean by that?
So formulas, due diligence, all your due diligence, numbers, what you know to be factual, what you know to be a very good representation of what that will achieve or what that will do, as opposed to, I think it will do that. As opposed to, oh, isn't that nice? Yeah, but it's outside the city centre for Airbnb, but I think it will work. No. Stick to what we know and what's proven. We do not need to recreate the wheel here. We don't need to. Certain systems work. Stick to them. We're fortunate. There's so many people who have done this that they've paved the way for us, so we can literally just follow in their footsteps. And a common one I saw recently was. It was actually about a year and a half ago. I'm not going to mention no names, but a friend of mine, he rushed out.
Well, that rules it down to about 2 people.
Yeah, just 2 people, one of 2. So a friend of mine.
I know it wasn't me.
Yeah. So okay. So you know the other one. A friend of mine rushed out and bought some HMO properties, and he didn't even think about them really. He just said HMOs definitely work in this area. He didn't do any due diligence at all. Apart from he viewed it, but he didn't really do any DD on it. And then I remember at an event, he suddenly got a light bulb moment during an event. We were talking about how to do a DD properly on HMOs, and he started doing them on that properties, and he suddenly got these are not actually as good as I think they're going to be. Fortunately, they hadn't completed, so he pulled out the deals. But that saved him a lot because that's just that could have been a very costly mistake for him. He could have bought them, he got them converted, and then he could have waited 8 months for them to rent out, and then they might never have rented out properly, and he could have spent loads and loads of money and got really sort of financially sort of crippled over that. And it comes down to he was taking action, but it just perhaps wasn't the most educated of action. And that's not to criticize this guy. He's a super intelligent guy, but he was so desperate to get a couple of deals. And I've seen this again with people in service accommodation. They hear like rent to rent service accommodation is killing it, making loads of money. There's loads of money to be made in rent to rent service accommodation, and they just take on any old apartment that they see, no matter where it is. Prime example, I Birmingham, for instance. Birmingham city centre become very saturated with service accommodation apartments. Now they still make money. But I do know that if it's not in the city centre, i.e. like Brindley Place, all the nice, you know, the right in the bang in the city centre.
I know Birmingham. When someone says an area is saturated, it usually just means the bad ones in the area suffer.
But so I don't mean saturation in a bad way, but in Birmingham, in the city centre, like Brindley Place, the mailbox, all that, they're really good for service accommodation. But 2.5 miles outside Birmingham city centre is not.
No.
They don't get anywhere near the same rates, and they get nowhere near the same occupancy. And I knew people that were taking properties on like 2.5 miles out because they keep hearing Birmingham's great, but it's emotional. They're just desperate.
And sometimes they even don't. Sometimes we say, don't we, quite often that people will when they're doing, for example, we talk about buy, refurbish, refinance. People always overestimate the end value and underestimate the refurb cost because they're trying to fudge the numbers to make it fit.
They're trying to make it so it fits that ROI. It's 40% ROI, innit? 50% ROI now. Just be conservative on everything. So like, I'm doing a buy refurb at the minute, and we've been told that the refurb will be 12 to 15,000. So I've put in my calculations, it's going to be 20,000. I'm working everything out on 20,000, and it's not going to be 5k more than it actually is, but all my numbers are worked out on 20,000, and the end value should be between 85 and 90. So I'm working everything out on 80,000.
So you got some cushion in there.
There's loads of cushion. But I, for instance, I was speaking to a lady at last crash course, two crash courses ago, and she's in the middle of buying a commercial unit, okay, and she's been very generous on the rents, like super generous. Like this property has never achieved the rents that she's now trying to get it to achieve. And I'm like, well, how can you back that up? Where can you, like, we don't teach commercial. We don't get involved in it really. You buy it. I'm looking to buy some at the minute, but we don't actually teach it. Now, fundamentally, whether it's commercial or residential, it's still the same thing. You buy a property, you rent it out, and you get paid. Still the same thing, fundamentally. And I'm looking at she's done a lot of DD in fairness, but I'm looking at the DD on this, and it goes back several years of what that property's achieved as a rental income. It's a restaurant with flats and that above upstairs. So I'm like, the restaurant's never achieved more than this. Why do you suddenly think you can pretty much add 50% to the rental income? I don't know how you... what evidence have you got for that? And she's like, well, I'm going to decorate it, and I'm like... It just seems a lot. And I'm like,
I would say go for. And see, the thing is, it's hard, isn't it? Because on one hand, you want to be positive.
Yeah.
And this is one of the problems with positive people is they always assume they're going to get the best rents. They always assume it's going to be 100% occupied and it's great to be like that the whole time because you want to be attracting that and you want to be.
Absolutely.
But when you're actually assessing the deal, it's the one time you've got to put on your other hat.
I agree with you.
You've got to take off Mr. Positive hat.
I'm all for being positive. I'm not saying be negative about anything. Be positive, 100%.
Yeah.
I agree with you though. At that point, you sometimes have to put on your what if hat. Because at the end of the day, you've got money on the line. You need to be super just careful with it. You can't just go positively blowing all your money. Do you know what I mean? Just because it's, I've got to be positive about everything. There is a time where you can be a skeptic, and that I would say that's when you're doing numbers.
What I do because I am an optimist. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I do two sets of figures.
Yep.
This is what I think it will do.
Yeah.
And this is the worst case.
Yeah.
But then I base my decision if the worst case still works. Yeah. Then great.
It is.
Yeah, and then I'm like, I think it's going to be this, but worst case it will be this.
Exactly.
And that way I can justify it. I don't feel like I'm being a negative.
And I listen, I don't like being, I'm not negative. I used to be a really negative person. I'm really not now. I'm very positive now. And whenever I'm doing any sort of buy refurb work, I always base it on how much am I prepared to leave in the deal. So if I'm buying a house at the minute, it's £36,000. So how much am I prepared to leave in that deal?
Buying a house for £36,000 must be up north somewhere.
It's in Liverpool.
Really?
Mate, it's a banger. It is a banger, right? I'll tell you how it come about.
If a car is a banger, what does that mean?
Well, this is a sack of shit. This property is rubbish, right? But let me tell you what happened. Right? We've got we've in this street we've got two houses going through for an investor. One of them's, I say not two houses. We've got an investor that's bought two houses in this street. One of them's completed and it's been converted into a 4-bed HMO. It's now tenanted, and the other one's mid refurbishment. And my builder happened to see this house 10, 15 doors away on the other side of the road, and they were putting signs up outside saying it's for sale. So he arranged to go and view it on our behalf. And I mean, it needs a full refurb, top to bottom, kitchen, bathroom, everything. Yeah. But it's 36 grand. Buy it now, 36 grand. Now the two houses this side of the road.
And is it like the same as that?
It's exact same.
HMO?
It's exact same. It's the same layout. It's exact same.
How much are the two the other side?
Right. So the two the other side, they were both bought for 70 to 80,000. Now the one that's up and running he's got it as a 3-bed HMO, not a 4-bed HMO. That's just been refinanced at 100k value, done up value 100,000.
How much are you going to put into this 35k one?
Dave, our builder's saying 25. To convert it into 3-bed HMO.
Is that your likely case or your optimistic case?
Well, he said 20 to 25.
So you're working it out on what, 40?
No, I'm working out in 25.
Okay.
Because
You
Dave's,
trust it?
he's just done one. He's just done one, very similar condition, and he always comes in under. He's very he always overestimates build cost as well, and I don't know many builders do that.
No.
I don't know many, and he said it's going to be maximum 25. Every time he's told me a maximum figure, it's always come in less. And he's one of the few builders that I've ever worked with where we've paid him in payment in terms and payment installments, and then if we've overpaid him, he transfers the money back to us. He's the only builder. He doesn't build that. So let's just say
What's his first name? Did you say Dave?
His name's Dave. Yeah,
It's got to be, hasn't it?
Dave the builder. Yeah, and he drives a transit van.
Of course he does. Of course he does.
But he's
No
an
one's
awesome
going to have
guy.
a clue. It's basically that's every single builder
every
out
builder
there.
in the country.
Yeah,
innit? He's an awesome guy. So, but we're getting a few more like that, man. I'm going to speak to you today about some of these deals though. Some of them are really quite good.
Sounds tasty.
But the common mistakes that I see, like with that deal, even if I leave 10 grand in it, I'm happy with that. But I won't, because even if I put 36 grand, let's just say £4,000 or £5,000 purchase and acquisition fees, it won't be that much, but 4,000. So this 40 plus 25, 65. The one that we've just had refinanced for an investor overseas, the refinance was 100,000, so he pulled out £75,000. So I should pull out.
It's gonna be the same house.
It's the same house, mate.
So you can go look at that one.
And it's just done. They've just done it. We've facilitated and helped them sort all the finance out.
Fascinating.
So we should pull out 10 grand, 8 grand, and have a house that's making £1,000 a month rental income. It's only a 3-bed HMO, so it'll only make like £950, £1,000 a month. But obviously then you've got costs, so it's still a really good deal.
Yeah, it
Really
is.
good deal.
So first mistake is don't. First mistake is
Formulas.
too desperate to get a deal.
Yeah, don't be so desperate to get a deal that you take on any old rubbish.
All right, cool.
The next one is if you're doing another one I see a lot of, and I get messages, a lot of people message me this sort of stuff. They've got a lease option, but there's absolutely no money in it. There's no money in it. Like there's no cash flow in it, and they've sometimes got to put £5,000 or £6,000 into it because that's what the buyer wants, a premium up front. And like they're not even going to make £5,000 to £6,000 over a 3 or 4 year period on it.
A lot of people they don't focus on cash flow, do they?
No, they focus on end value. But like this one particular deal was in Northeast. It was in North End, top end of Gateshead. So it's
Do you know
prime.
the only time that I can kind of forgive not focusing on cash flow is a buy refurbish refinance.
Yeah.
So for example, the deal you were just talking about now, you pull all your money back out. If you were only making £200 a month rent, I'd be like, yeah, it doesn't matter though, because it costs you nothing.
Infinite return, isn't it?
Yeah,
Infinite return.
It is an infinite return.
But this, so a prime example, I got sent, a woman sent me a lease option agreement that she got ready to sign. She's got the contracts and everything ready to sign. And she said, can you just have a quick check over it before I go ahead and commit? And I started looking into the deal, and the current value of the property, it's in the Northeast, the current value of the property was like £35,000. She'd agreed to buy it for £65,000 in 10 years. I mean, that's not quite, but it's nearly double.
Yeah.
Right? And she was paying about £130 a month to the buyer, which would leave her less than £100 a month profit because it only rents out at like $400 up there. And so she was going to be left with like £100 a month, if that. And she had to pay
assuming no voids,
assuming that it gets rented out quickly. And then the other thing was she had to put the buyer wanted £5,000 up front as a incentive or a premium or whatever. So like she's £5,000 into the deal. She's only making £100 a month. It's going to take her 5 years to get that £5,000 back.
Well, £5,000 is like getting on for 15% of the actual value of the house, isn't it?
It's just
£35,000.
It's just not a good deal. And I actually said, look, I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't even take it if you give it to me. It's just not a good deal because I don't think that part of the country is going to double in price. If it does double in price in the next 10 years, you still don't make any money because the way she structured the deal, it's the vendor's getting a really good deal, but she's not. And I advised her to pull out. And yeah, it cost her legal fees, so she lost like £1,000 on legals because of this. But my point being is, she was so desperate to get a first deal that she just was prepared to take anything. So just because it's a lease option agreement and it's low money down, like you've still got legals and all that sort of stuff. So just because it's a low money down lease option does not mean you should take it.
No.
You still have to do your due diligence as if you're buying it, because you're still effectively going to be buying it in a period of time. And yeah, just do your due diligence. Make sure you do. It doesn't matter if it's a rent, doesn't matter if it's a lease option, doesn't matter if somebody said, here, Alistair, there's a free house. Still do your DD because you're still liable for it. So I think that's the second lesson, is make sure you're doing due diligence properly.
Wasn't that the first lesson?
No, the first lesson was... What was the first lesson?
That was the first lesson. The first mistake was
mistake.
rushing into it. And the lesson was make sure you do your duty.
So, second mistake.
Go on. I would say another big mistake that a lot of people make is the opposite of that. Is that's the one hand. The other mistake is
not doing anything.
They just sit on the sideline learning and they never actually implement.
Yeah, they never implement. They're so busy going to every single course they can go to, but they never actually do anything. We see it time and time again, don't we? People that they become sort of just stuffed with information, but they're so scared to make a move because they're so scared to risk money that 5 years have passed and boom, they've not actually done anything. But we're entrepreneurs at the end of the day. We're teaching entrepreneurship.
Well, one of the things that we're very, very keen to do is to encourage people. Don't even worry about the stuff down the end.
No,
just almost learn as you go. Almost so find out. I'm not saying again. It's like this is where the balancing act is with the first one. You want to get all your information. You want enough information to go but don't be worrying about things like in 10 years the tax. Just do it. Just do it.
Somebody asked me the other day. I was out the other day having dinner with a couple of friends that are also in investing, and they said to me, he's a prime example of this, and he won't mind me sharing this. He won't mind me telling you because I tell him all the time he's a prime example of this, and he admits it. He's got money to invest, right? But he's so scared of losing money that he's spent the last 2.5 years and he's done nothing. He's found so many houses that are great deals. I've helped him look at them, and I have to think they're really good deals. But he spends like 2 months looking at a property, and then he's gone. And then he's like, oh, actually, I think the next one will be better. And he never does anything. And he said maybe, but what if the tax rules change? What if interest rates go up? What if this? What if that? And I said, but why are you worrying about that? Because you can't control that. So it's not something that's in your control. So if you cannot control something, why are you worrying about it? You can't. No matter what you do, it does not affect that.
But
all you end up doing.
But what if you leave your money in the bank and it shrinks?
Yeah. Well, what if the bank goes bankrupt tomorrow?
Yeah, but the first one. What if? But if you leave your money in the bank, it will shrink.
Yeah.
Fact. Yeah. Because the interest rates are lower than cost than
yeah.
So the interest rates are lower than the inflation.
So yeah, I think mistake number 2 is just being so scared that you never make a move. That stops me.
What's the definition of an entrepreneur?
Definition of an entrepreneur is somebody that's prepared to take financial risk for financial gain. So you've got to take risk if you want to make gains. There's nothing in this world guaranteed. There's 2 things. You're going to pay tax and you're going to die. That's the 2 things that are guaranteed in this world. Nothing else. So you're not guaranteed to make money. You're not guaranteed to lose money. You're not guaranteed to be successful. You're not guaranteed to be a failure. There's 2 dates in our life that are important: when you're born, when you die. What you do in between is up to you, and it's down to what you want to do and how you want to take action. It's not down to anyone else. It's down to how you take action. Now, the problem with some of these people is they're procrastinators. They'll wait forever before they do anything. And what happens is suddenly they're 50, suddenly they're 60, and then they're dead, and they've done nothing. And at the end of the day, I don't want to go out like that. So I'm prepared to take action. And if it means I lose a little bit of money in the meantime, then so friggin' be it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not scared of taking action. If I do a deal and I lose a couple of grand or 10 grand, who cares?
Just make sure you win more than you lose.
Just make sure you always do better than you. Make sure you.
Because it does.
It's a game, isn't it? It's a game. I look at property investing as a game. I know the rules. I play by the rules to win.
Yeah, I've only ever lost money once on a deal.
Yeah.
Personally, and it wasn't a property deal.
Oh, wasn't it? Okay.
No.
Yeah. So that's mistake number 2.
Yeah.
Don't not do anything out of fear.
Yeah.
And just get out there and do it. So number 3, what would mistake number 3 be?
Okay, so another mistake that people make. I think those are 2 big ones. Should we do one more? I'm trying to think of a common.
A common mistake.
I've got one, but I'm not sure it's a good enough talking point. Let's hear yours.
Okay, so it's sort of not number 1. It's about numbers. People just getting their numbers wrong. So it does sort of fall into mistake number 1 about doing your due diligence and rushing in. But just make sure that whatever you're doing it with the correct numbers. So like don't estimate or don't guesstimate anything when it comes to numbers, when it comes to costs, when it comes to refurb, when it comes to legal costs, when it comes to things like getting a new kitchen fitted. Do not guesstimate anything. Get somebody that is qualified and able to come out and do it and get them to price it up for you, and shop around as well. I met an investor several weeks back, and they were doing a refurb on a house, but they were buying everything from like places like Wix and B&Q, and they're paying full retail for everything. So their kitchens were like £5,000-6,000, as opposed to going to the right places where trade buy and getting a kitchen for $2,500.
Mine was similar actually, so I'll link it in because it's a similar kind of point. Get the right people around you. It's kind of similar. So, like for example, and again, it comes down to so solicitor.
Mm-hmm.
We bought a property, and we were just using a local property solicitor to draw it up, and they were like, your stamp duty is this, and I kind of thought, I think there's rules here that will apply to our property that will reduce the stamp duty dramatically. So I challenged them on it, and they out-argued me, and they said no because they're a solicitor, and but I was still pretty sure. So I went round to another few solicitors, spoke to them, and they were like, no, they're wrong. You are right.
It's bizarre, isn't it, that solicitors can be so wrong in so many cases.
So I went back to the solicitor and I said, hey, you're wrong. I've spoke to these other solicitors. They've told me, and they were like, no, I'm not wrong. I was like, okay, I'll pay you your fee because we'd gone along the way down. Yeah. But I don't want you to do the work for me anymore. I'm moving over to this solicitor.
How much did that save you?
About $100,000.
Yeah. See what I mean? It's ridiculous. So that's a good point that you've made. Get the right people around you.
Whether that be
builders,
solicitors,
the right mortgage
accountants, tax advisors, trainers, mentor, whatever it is.
You get the right people. And also another thing.
There's so many people. I can't. Again, another quote. Can't think who this is from, but. Most people fail because they take advice from the wrong people.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Take advice from their neighbour and their mate down the pub.
Do you know where I used to live? My neighbour, he's a very successful guy, very very successful. But he's got property, but he's a very old school property guy. Like go to the bank, borrow 40%, 60% of the money, put 40% deposit. Very old school, very slowly building his portfolio, which. It'll be very sustainable over time, very good, but he doesn't have a clue about any of the new modern ways of buying or any of the creative structures or things like that. And he's very much, he only buys where he lives. He won't buy anywhere else. He manages everything himself. And I remember I used to take advice from him, but only to a certain point.
Yeah.
So I would take advice from him about building wealth because he was very good at that. He was a very wealthy guy, but he didn't know certain things. He didn't know lease options. He didn't know rent to rent. He didn't know service accommodation. He never heard of service accommodation, for instance. So I wouldn't take advice from him about that sort of stuff, but I would take advice from him about how he built his wealth. And likewise, your mate who you work with or who you socialise with that's not investing in property, why would you take advice from them? You wouldn't. No. But I know so many people that do.
I've got a similar guy who I take advice from, but to a certain degree.
Yeah.
My wife's uncle.
Yeah.
He ran a computer company.
Okay.
He sold it. He's been financially free because he lives off the interest. He's in the bank.
Oh wow.
He lives off the interest. Sold it for millions. He's like the one member of the family. I don't know him that well because he's only moved over to England recently. He used to live in Australia. Who's sort of been really successful. Yeah. So I talked to him. And he doesn't understand stuff about. He's got like a Nokia 3210.
Okay. Right,
you know what I mean? He doesn't understand stuff about
modern.
Anything modern, but he's still got some really good principles. So you pick and choose the advice.
Yeah, it's like anything. Would you take advice from somebody about becoming a dad that haven't got children? Like, would you take parenting advice from somebody that hasn't got children?
No.
No, because they've not done it. They've not experienced it. Would you take swimming lessons from somebody that can't swim?
No.
No, you wouldn't. Take advice from the right people.
It's now time for this. Okay, so in the news this week, this is a news article. I think I've actually seen this all over the place, but I'm reading something from the from the Independent. Airbnb.
Oh, you're reading it. Sorry, I thought I was getting it. Sorry.
Oh, it's all right. Airbnb has said it will ban party houses in the wake of a deadly shooting at a Halloween party at a rented property in California.
Oh man.
5 people were killed in the shooting on Thursday, which sent around 100 terrified partygoers running for their lives in the San Francisco suburb of Orinda. Never heard of that, have you?
No.
The 4-bedroom home had been rented by Airbnb by a woman who told...
4-bedroom home and he had 100 people in there.
It's very true. Who told the owner her dozen family members had asthma and needed to escape from a wildfire. A person... What? The 4-bedroom home had been rented on Airbnb by a woman who told the owner her dozen family members had asthma and needed to escape smoke from a wildfire. A person with knowledge of the transaction said the owner was suspicious of a one-night rental on Halloween and before agreeing reminded the renter that no parties were allowed. In a series of tweets, Airbnb CEO Brian Chesky said Saturday the San Francisco-based company is expanding manual screening for high-risk reservations and will remove guests who fail to comply with the policies. So basically, what it sounds like they're looking at doing is larger houses on Airbnb. So, for example, the cottage that we've got, potentially, that kind of thing, they're looking at.
It's interesting because I've got I know somebody that's got several large houses on they're like a rent-to-rent HMO service accommodation basis, but they're all 5-6 bedroom houses, and he's had a few problems with parties going in there. One night bookings going in there, trashing the place. So it is quite common with the larger properties. Now, how can we go about? I mean, it's obviously tragic that 5 people have lost their lives over this. But at the end of the day, it's not the women's fault, is it? It's not the Airbnb's fault. People went and had a party.
Airbnb just won't want to be.
They won't be associated. Yeah. So how can you prevent that? Now, one way to prevent it is having a minimum night stay. So you could say if you want groups of 6, minimum 3-4 nights, because that'll put the price up, so they'll look elsewhere, and charge them per guest as well.
Mind you, would they not just lie about the number of guests?
Yeah, I've had that a few times in my essays where they ring up, right? So I've had this, they book onto Airbnb and they say there's only 2 guests coming, and then you get an email the day before or 2 days before, whatever, and they say, oh yeah, can we get checking information? Thank me for checking information. Me and my family will be there on Friday. Can you make sure that is there enough beds? And I say, well, hang on, you've only booked for 2 people, husband and wife, so there's one double bed available. The other rooms have been locked. And I always say that the other rooms have been locked. Oh, but we're bringing our kids and our auntie or whatever. I'm like, okay, so you need to rebook them because you've not paid for enough guests. It happens all the time. You have to be so careful with that. But they're just doing it to save money.
I can understand why. I mean, it's tempting, isn't it? You look on the thing, you're like, the house is available. I can book the whole house, 2 guests, and if I bring the kids, it's like 200 quid more.
Yeah.
I've always thought it was a bit of a piss take. Like from your point of view. Because you're prepared to rent the house out for 200 quid. What difference does it, other than the cleaning, I can kind of get that because you're more cleaning. But what difference does it make?
It doesn't really make a difference. The difference, okay, you're talking pennies here. You're not talking a lot of money.
You are?
No. What I mean, from an operator's point of view, to have 4 guests as opposed to 2 guests, you're talking a couple of quid difference in costs with regards to laundry, with regards to...
But it costs massively more.
Yeah, with regards to laundry and like hot water and all that sort of stuff. You're talking nothing. So really, it doesn't cost us any more money. Because like my property in Oxford, the cleaning costs for that are the same whether there's 1 guest or whether there's 5 guests. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I'm fixed.
And yet.
We charge an extra £40 per person per night. Yeah,
it's
business, isn't it? We're in business to make money.
Yeah, but
I'm not in business to
from
give
my
things
point
away.
of view. Yeah, but from my point of view, is the house has got a going rate. Well, how whoever uses that house, what does it matter? It's like if you went to McDonald's, if you went to the Domino's and ordered a big pizza, and they were like, "Yeah, that's 10 quid." Oh, hold on, is it just you eating that, or is there 2 of you? There's 2 of you, 15 quid then.
That's funny.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, surely there's a going rate for the apartment.
Oh, it's like if you go... I know you've had this, where you went to McDonald's... not McDonald's, you went to Pizza Hut. And they said to you, do you want a large or a medium? Or like, do you want 8 slices or 10 slices? And you said, oh, I'm not that hungry, I can only have 8. So
I don't know this
cut
story.
It into 8.
Is this a joke?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Cut it into 8.
Same pizza, you just cut it into 8 slices, isn't it? So
yeah, well,
can't manage 10 slices, I'm going to have 8. So... charge you more for it.
When you started the story, I was thinking, I don't remember this at all, but it's a joke.
It's a joke, yeah.
But yeah, it's crazy. I think it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's just the same product. I'd understand if it was like, we'll open up another room that we could rent out, then it totally makes sense. But why is it more when it's the same product? It just doesn't. I don't understand.
Because it just is in its business.
Can I buy a TV? Yep, sure. That's £1,000. Oh, hold on. Are you going to watching it on your own? Well, no, my wife's watching it as well. 1,500.
Do you remember that advert on TV? It was about hotels. It was, do you know Secret Escapes? It's like that, yeah. And then the guy got to the hotel hotel reception to check in, and when he was checking out, checking out his keys, and they said, "Oh, did you enjoy the room?" And he said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Okay, that's £180." He goes, "Did you look out the window and enjoy the view?" "Yes, sir." "Oh, that's an extra £20." And he like the view in the bathtub, and he just
charging for all the extra stuff.
Yeah. But look, at the end of the day, look, it's business.
Do you know what it would be like though? A taxi. If you book a taxi, and two of you get in, do they charge you more?
No.
But that's the exact same.
Yeah, I suppose it's supply and demand, isn't it? If you look at hotels, they pay per person. You pay for the room, and then you do.
You don't pay per person.
No, not per person, not for one person, but a double room is the same as a double room. And then if you say a double, but you want new to come along and sleep in the bed in the corner, they charge you extra for that.
If I book a room and I say I want a double room, which I'd want anyway, and I stay in it, or myself and Anna stays, it's the same price.
Yeah, for two people it's the same. But when you start adding 3-4 guests into a hotel room,
but then it's different because they've got to do extra work. They've got to bring. I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think.
But that's what they're comparing it against, isn't they?
No, I don't know.
Think about it. So if you and Anna are going away with the kids,
we book a family room.
You book a family room.
It's the same price. It's like pretty much the same price.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Go onto booking.com and have a look, because it always says how many guests, and it gives you all the prices for 1 guest, 2 guests, 3 guests, 4 guests.
I'm pretty sure. Who knows? Comment below. Let us know, because we're obviously disagreeing about this.
I'm like, look, this is business,
dude.
If you want to come along, you want to bring your auntie and your uncle. You're
99 times out of 100, it benefits me because I very rarely stay in Airbnb, but I make money from Airbnb. So I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't personally think it makes any sense.
It doesn't make sense. I agree, it doesn't make sense. But who we make that call? We just follow the
rules.
Follow the rules.
Fair enough. It's now time for this.
Okay, guys, so here we are with the questions of this week. Now, we have some questions that have been put in via the Facebook Live that went out on Property Investors with Samuel Leeds earlier. And the first question is from a guy called Johnny Peters. Hey, Johnny, how are you doing? What options do investors have after selling them a deal? Is providing a power team to deal with refurbishment always necessary, or is it just wise and always do this Or is it just wise to always do this, or just be done with it once it completes? It depends on what you agree at the offset. So when I sell a deal to an investor, it really does depend on what we agree at the offset. Some investors just want the lead. They literally just want me to find them a deal and say, here's the deal. You go ahead, you deal with it. Then other investors want a complete hands-off investment. I've mentioned this before. I've got several overseas investors. None of them want to be involved in anything apart from paying the bills. They don't want to be involved in any of the process. So for them, they pay a slightly different fee. They pay a management fee as well, as opposed to a finder's fee. But typically, we would provide the power team, people such as builders, not so much solicitors and mortgages at this point, because they'll have their own ones. But if they do need a solicitor and mortgage broker, we can put them in touch. But typically, builder, refurbishment costs, and a letting agent for every property we sell. And again, it's very dependent on what you agree at the offset to the contract at the very, very beginning. Cool. So always have that conversation with them when you're selling them a deal. What do they actually expect? One quick thing before I move on. Make sure that when you're selling a deal to somebody, that you have the expectations of them written down. You need to know what they expect and what they're expecting that the fee is covering. Don't get into the situation where they think that they're going to pay you a £2,000 finder's fee, but that means you're going to manage it all the way to getting tenants, because that's not the case. And you need them to be very clear on that from the offset.
Cool, man.
Next question.
Julius Paulo. Hi, great podcast. I was wondering if it is still possible to refinance a HMO after a refurb when it's a HMO.
Say again. So
I was wondering if it's still possible to refinance a property after a refurb when it's a HMO.
It depends if you've added value. The fact that it's a HMO is irrelevant, really.
Well, actually, you were talking about earlier about one that you're doing at the moment, which is going to be a HMO.
It's going to be into a 3-bed minimal.
There's two options, basically, for going into a HMO. The one option is you just rent it out on a room by room, and you do the whole make it a bedroom by putting a bed in it.
Yeah.
In which case, The only real difference would be the fact you've got fire doors and alarms.
Yeah.
And so from a valuation point of view, it wouldn't make any difference, would it really? Because it would just be a normal house.
It's a normal house, yeah.
You could even add the fire doors on if you wanted to after the valuation.
It depends on who's valuing it. It depends on who you get around to look at it. Because if they see fire doors, they assume it's a HMO.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you could refurb it, put
right.
normal doors on, get it valued, then you could add fire doors on, do it as HMO if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Or the other option is you could get a commercial valuation.
Yeah,
but in order to do that, you need more than just fire. You need it to.
Yeah, it's got to be a HMO. It's got to be a licensed HMO, and it's also got to. It's worked out. The valuation's worked out on the rental income, the AST contracts. It's worked out on all sorts. So it's not just a case of bricks and mortar. If you want a bricks and mortar value, yeah, you can definitely do it, definitely. But anything the best strategy I would say is a buy refurbish opportunity, which can be converted into a HMO and then valued up to a HMO.
If you can combine buy refurbish rights and HMO, you are laughing.
You're laughing, absolutely. Okay, next, right? Okay.
Hey guys.
Go on, sorry.
No, you go first.
Matt Bex. Hi guys, was that the last crash course? Awesome. I hope you enjoyed it. Really inspiring stuff. Thank you. Do you guys use virtual assistants? If so, how do you hire them, and where are they UK based or offshore?
I actually don't right now. I used to. I don't right now because I've got some of these members of staff.
Yeah.
But I used to, and I used to use a company called All Day PA.
Yeah.
Based in Manchester, penny a second, I think, or something.
Yeah, that was for answering calls and stuff. One of the questions he put at the bottom was, what tasks do you set them when you're starting out your property journey? So I used to use a virtual PA that I found on People Per Hour, and she was based in the Philippines, and she used to scrape Rightmove for me and find all sorts of lease option potentials. So I done a video, I uploaded it to People Per Hour of me finding negative equity properties. The video was like 15 minutes long, me finding it, me doing due diligence. I uploaded it, I put that as a job. This lady applied for the job, and she was finding me 1,000, 1,200 leads a time, every month really, of properties that are on Rightmove and negative equity that match lease option criteria. And then I would use another virtual assistant to systemize sending letters to these people. So she would give me the Excel spreadsheet. I would then send that Excel spreadsheet to another company. That company would then stuff letters, write envelopes and post them, and then just send them out. And I would just sit back and wait for the calls to come in. So I systemized my whole letter sending.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that was done by People Per Hour. Okay, next.
So Alex Rogers, what are the major implications to running a rent to SA business, and can this sort of business be scaled up easily with the right systems in place? Yes, it definitely can be scaled. I've actually got a friend of ours, in fact, a friend of both of ours, I think, who's got a rent. They actually do rent to HMO, a rent to HMO business here in London. They're making about 100 grand a year. She doesn't even live in London anymore. And she's got just staff that just run it like a letting agency, basically.
Well, they are. They're just, it's all systemized.
Yeah. So yes, you very much
set them
can.
up, and it's all systemized. So
but it's the same implications if you're going to set it up like that. You're acting as a letting agent.
Of course you are. Yeah, you're managing contracts. You're managing ASTs. And HMO. So yeah, it's all good.
But I think we've done I think we've done some. In fact, it might be worth putting a link in. I think we've done shows talking about how to set up a rent-to-rent and all that. So check that out for sure.
Okay, let's do one more question. It's from Faz Khalik. Hey guys, as a property sourcer, what software do you use to analyze properties to make sure the numbers stack up? I know it can be done on paper, but having a computer-based system is much simpler. I don't use software. The only software I use, which is, I suppose it is software, is Excel. Everything's on Excel spreadsheets. So I've got a spreadsheet for every type of strategy, and they're very detailed spreadsheets, so it covers all the costs. Don't get into mistake of what some sources do is they don't include things like their finder's fee. They don't include things like mortgage interest and when they're working out return on investment. Don't get into that. Remember, when you're working out your calculations, work out it is every single penny that you have to put into that deal compared to what you're getting out of the deal.
The thing is, it's so easy.
Be very, very sort of diligent on this sort of stuff.
It's so easy to make your own Excel version that then you can then adapt, put the correct figures in, and it's completely customized to how you want it. But if you go on the crash course, I mean, basically, the teacher at the crash course, they've got
for single
how to do return. I have the HMO, I think.
We don't do that at the crash course.
We're not. Okay, so for single lets, but it's the same. It's the same
principle,
and how you work it out, and then you could just put that on an Excel spreadsheet or use paper.
Yeah, you
but I
can
do it on a
use paper.
spreadsheet.
I would do it on
Spreadsheet's a
Excel.
bit easier.
Because it does all the calculations very, very quickly for you. But Excel is really easy to do. I'm sure you can work that out.
Brilliant. So, guys, thanks ever so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week at 7 o'clock next Saturday. Please do tune in. Don't forget to subscribe, share it, tell all your friends about it.
Tell the world.
Tell Alistair's friend about it if you can. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
See you guys. Thanks.